Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lorabai, or Maddie, and today I'm reading chapter 16 of #Murder Trending by Gretchen McNeil. Let's get right into it. Griselda punched him in the arm. Stop being stupid. And then, without waiting for a response, she ducked through the hole in the fence and jogged down the path on the other side. After you, milady. Ethan gestured for Dee to follow. Dee hesitated, remembering the unironic no swimming sign on the rock wall near the barracks. Quarantine? Biohazard? Those sound like really good reasons to stay the hell away. Niles laughed. Are you afraid you might get cancer and die? I believe we're in significantly more imminent danger on Alcatraz 2.0. The Brit had a point. I think it's funny that she calls him the Brit. Still, there was the possibility that even if Hannah Ball or Cecile B. DeViolent wasn't waiting for her on the other side of the fence, convicted killers Niles, Griselda, and Ethan might have a sinister plan. No, and Ethan might have just as sinister a plan for her. Trusting people gets you killed faster. But without help, she couldn't prove that she had been framed for Monica's death, and convicted killers or not, Niles, Griselda, and Ethan were her only lifelines. Dee took a deep breath and scurried through the fence. If most of Alcatraz 2.0 looked as if no one had inhabited it in 20 years, the northern tip of the island was positively prehistoric. The moment Dee reached the other side of the fence, the asphalt felt old and crumbly beneath her feet. Tall grasses with white flowers sprouting from their tips had taken root in the cracks of the blacktop, some growing almost as tall as Dee's 5'3". They swayed in the wind, obscuring the warped ridges in the road as their roots slowly displaced modern technology. Bushes spread out of control, trees flourished, some so overgrown that their branches were sagging beneath their own weight. No power lines or cell phone towers marred the landscape, and the only signs left that people had once inhabited this part of the island were the decrepit road and the foundational remains of a long abandoned building, all but reclaimed by Mother Nature. The sound of waves crashing against the rock wall was louder at this end of the island, which took the full brunt of the current, and the wind felt colder without the barrier of San Francisco high-rises, or even the windbreak of the barracks. This was one of the old Navy yards, Niles said. He stood close behind her, Griselda on one side and Ethan on the other. Apparently they sent radioactive ships here to be decontaminated and cocked up the job so the area was quarantined. That sounds safe, Dee says sarcastically. But Ethan took her comment at face value. Only safe spot on the island. He sucked in a deep breath, holding the cool air in his lungs for a second before letting it out in a whoosh. That's why Blair let us in on the secret. Blair found this place? Was this what she'd meant when she said People had been surviving on Alcatraz 2.0 longer than Dee might realize. Yes, Niall said. Blair and a few others, they're all gone now. And why are we here? Look around, Niall swept his arm in a circle. What don't you see? Dee took a moment to realize what he meant. There are no cameras. She's not as dumb as she looks, Griselda said. Funny, Dee snapped. Can't say the same for you. Ouch, Ethan said, licking his forefinger. He jabbed it into his thigh and let out a hissing sound. Burned. We shouldn't have brought her here, Griselda said. I don't trust Princess not to blab about our secrets. She had no idea how good Dee was at keeping secrets. No idea at all. I do, Niall said softly. When this all blows up in your face, Griselda countered, just remember, I told you so. Niall shot Griselda a look as if to say, cool it. Then he turned to Dee. His countenance more serious than it had been since they met. What did you want to tell us about Blair's death? Dee paused, scanning the sky. What about the drones? They do occasional flybys, but nothing regular, Niall said with a shrug. Besides, you can hear 'em coming. Duck under a tree and you're out of sight. Okay. No cameras meant no one watching and listening, so any secret conversations, sharing of information, or plotting of escape attempts could be carried out beyond the prying eyes and ears of both the postman and the world. If Niles, Griselda, and Ethan knew about this place, maybe they had other secrets that they'd share too. Anything that kept her alive was a good thing. If she was dead, Monica's real killer would never be brought to justice. Gucci's MO is pretty standard, right? She said. She began. Elaborate sets, some version of a hanging, lots of Gucci scarves. Niles tilted his head. Gucci fan, I take it? No way, Dee wrinkled her nose, revolted by the thought. But my stepsister was obsessed with him, even ran one of Gucci's fan forums. Griselda wandered away. She sounds like a charmer. Hey! Outbursts weren't her thing. She's mostly internalized her emotions, but Griselda had gone too far. Back off. Griselda didn't even flinch. Fine, so she was sweet and kind and perfect in every way. Is that why you killed her? I didn't kill her. Sure you didn't. You're pure and innocent while the rest of us are assholes for killing our friends and families. Not everyone, Dee said. Just you. Sweet, Ethan said, sitting down on the broken concrete. Girl fight. Wish I had popcorn. Griselda ignored him. You think you're so fucking special, huh? She shoved her index finger in Dee's face. You've been here 1 day, princess. 1. I've been here for 87, and if you make it that long, you can act like you understand pain and suffering. Dee clenched her jaw. So angry the world around her seemed to spin. I've seen suffering you can't imagine. Niles stepped in front of Dee. Look, it doesn't matter, okay? Guilty or not, we're all stuck here. But that's just it, Dee pleaded, pushing aside her anger. It does matter. How? Niles asked. Time to explain. The heart Gucci carved into Blair's shoulder, she said, speaking quickly. My stepsister's killer did the same thing to her body after she was strangled. Post-mortem body modification is hardly unusual around here, Niles said. Yes, but the heart on the shoulder, Dee began. That's exactly what Monica's killer did after she was dead. Dude, Ethan said, eyebrows scrunched. Who is Monica? Griselda sighed. Her stepsister. The one who died? Ethan continued. How does your body keep breathing air? Griselda said. When your brain is that stupid. Ethan tapped his temple. Muscle beats import every time. Fast and furious. Words to live by. Griselda sank her forehead into her knees. I can't even with you. D, Niles said, his impatience evident. I'm sure it seemed dramatic at the time, but I don't see how Gucci's discretion of Blair's body has anything to do with you or your stepsister. What if I told you that Gucci used the same exact item to carve that heart as Monica's killer? Niles' eyes arched up towards the sky as he tried to remember, which was a pair of needle-nosed tweezers. She said, filling in the blank. Hot pink with white polka dots. See, Griselda said, pushing herself back up to her feet. I told you this was her fault. So the postman wants to tie Blair's death to Cinderella survivor? Niles mused. By using an element from your murder trial? He does that sometimes with No, Dee said, cutting him off. This wasn't a part of my trial. The tweezers were never found. Then how do you know they were the item used? Dee paused. The answer to his question was not exactly going to strengthen her case for innocence, because I found a pair of polka dot tweezers stashed in my bedroom. Her blood was still on them. Niles' brow wrinkled. And then I flushed them down the toilet. Griselda threw her arms up. How convenient. Don't you see, Dee pleaded? I've never told anyone about those tweezers. I was scared. I thought someone was trying to frame me for her murder. Only 2 people know about that factoid, me and the real killer. So how did it end up on the postman? Niles' blue eyes grew wide. You think Gucci killed your stepsister? Or knows who did, Dee said. If we can prove it, he began. We? Griselda interjected. Then we could prove you're innocent, Niles finished. He was getting it. Phew. And if we can overturn my conviction... Dee shifted her gaze from Niles to the scowling Griselda to the utterly confused Ethan. She wasn't actually convinced that any of them were innocent, but it felt like they had something to gain from this endeavor. They'd be more likely to help her, right? If it felt like they had something to gain from this endeavor, they'd be more likely to help her, right? Right. If we can prove I didn't do it, then maybe we can prove that none of you are killers either. And that's the end of chapter 16. Until next time, bye-bye.